here, revisiting this power valve issue on this EC300. I've adjusted this right here a couple times to where there's tension on the lever on the actuator arm, and it hits the stop right there just like that. And I still get this annoying power valve rattle on deceleration, and it doesn't really sound like, I'm going to put my finger in the cylinder, it doesn't really sound like that. That's the power valve going side to side and kind of up and down, rattling around. There's some side to side play I can take out. What it did sound like was, as I was messing with the mechanism, this bell crank here, and I hope this comes out, this bell crank here was actually hitting the inside of the case right here. And let's see if I can get a light on this. You might be able to see. So it's hitting right here and leaving a mark right there. And when I took this apart, took this off, and then moved the bell crank up and down, it sounds like the bell crank's hitting right there, and that sounds like the exact noise that my bike's been making. So I took a risk. Took the bell crank off. You can see it's not straight anymore. There's a bend toward the back of the bike so that it doesn't hit here. Okay. So there's some space right there. So I just put it in the vise, heated it, and put a little bend in it. And to keep the bell crank from hitting, it's actually the little stud on the bell crank that holds the actuator arm. Put it back on. Doesn't hit. It didn't make the actuator arm bind here, but what it did do is by twisting the bell crank from straight to back like that, it effectively took this plane that the top of the actuator arm sits in and rotated it like that, which caused some binding up here. So I had to put a backward bend to get this now perpendicular to the bend I put in the bell crank, if that makes sense. Okay, and then the only other issue I ran into was as it rotates, I had to put another little bend right here because this part of the arm was hitting this part right here of the actuator plate as the actuator plate rotated around. So just put it through its motions and make sure nothing binds. Everything's fine now. So you can push down on the governor here. Everything rotates up and around. I can't push it hard enough to rotate it all the way around though. Hey! That's close. So everything's tightened back down. Nothing seems to be binding. Everything rotates by hand fine. The only other concern I had was make sure there's a little bit of play here, side to side, in the shaft that goes across here. Because, so I have a tiny bit of play there, this little stud that sticks out to the left of this, you can't see it, the part that goes inside the slot here behind the governor has a little edge that sticks out here. And it looks like it can bind there if you get this and this too tight. So when you tighten down this nut, just make sure there's a little bit of space there and that it doesn't bind there. So mine doesn't bind now, so I'm happy with that. Okay, what else on this? So I'll fire it up and see if it works, see if that took out my annoying power valve rattle on deceleration, and if it does, I'll post it. And hopefully I didn't screw anything else up. Looks like the bearings inside here, tiny bit of play in them. That's contributing to some noise. I have some side-to-side play in the power valve. When I put my hand in there, I can wiggle it side to side. I'm sure that's contributing some too. There's also some up and down play in the back of the power valve where that rear rod goes through the back of the power valve. There's a little bit of play in the back of the power valve that kind of bounces up and down. I don't know if I can do anything about that. I'd like to buy a new one, but Duo Fasters doesn't list one on their parts. Or they don't have a price for it, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. So we'll see how this goes.